Do we really need a reason to take an 800 horsepower Dodge Charger UTE with a manual transmission for a fun rip? Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is the Questionable Garage. And I've got a pair of truck beds around me. Well, one in front, one behind me. We have our 2008/9/14/17 different Chargers that is known as Roadblock. The Hellcat Red Eye 6-speed manual Charger with a Smith UTE conversion on it. And we have our 71 International Harvester. We call them the Johnny Rev. We have a Corvette C5 front subframe. We now have that LS3 from J&J in there, and it is an absolute blast to drive. They both run. So why are they in the shop? That's because they're not running as good as they could be. I got gas problems, guys. Well, more directly, we have fuel system problems. While we were tuning Roadblock on the dyno, we had to drop it down to one fuel pump. More than sufficient for our power goals, but I like overhead in a fuel system. We were able to make all of our power just about 800 wheel with the one pump, but I have the Red Eye fuel system. Should have two pumps. But for some reason, despite them both originally working, we lost one. We had to unplug that fuel pump controller because anytime it was plugged in, we were dropping fuel pressure. Not a good thing to happen when you go under boost. That's how you blow up a very expensive engine. Now with Johnny, he was running pretty good, but we were running into some issues where we were overheating the fuel pump and fuel pump wiring, but it is not fuel pump related. It is fuel pressure related, namely how we are regulating that fuel pressure. But neither of these problems are gonna fix themselves while we're talking, so I need to get to work. But first, I was thinking, the great lyrical genius, linguist, rapper, songwriter, Jay-Z said it perfectly. If you're having fuel system problems, I feel bad for you, son. I've got 99 problems, but a fuel system is two of them. So we're gonna get rid of it and I'll just have 97. That's good math. All right, welcome to the engine bay. And we are gonna go over just real quick how Johnny's fuel is both filtered and regulated. So your fuel pump is generally going to have a pre-filter sock, especially if it's an in-tank pump, making sure the fuel pump has a long life and doesn't fail prematurely. Spoilers, that might have something to do with Roadblock's problem. Once you get your fuel pushed out of the tank, up your lines and to the front of the car, you need to regulate that pressure. What we have is incredibly common in LS swaps because it's small, clean, and just super efficient, and that is the Corvette style fuel filter / regulator. You have your fuel line come into it, it filters, regulates. So when you're doing an LS swap, real standard, basic, lower power things, those are an amazing option. Clean, simple, very compact. But we have a little bit of a spicy engine and we drive it hard, so we need a better regulating system as well as filter system. So I'm gonna grab a box and kind of show you everything, that it's gonna take to replace this one part. There you go. That's a big box of Go Fast bits from Holley Performance. It takes a lot. The two biggest thing, you got little plumbing pieces, but we have our filter, and in this box, we have our regulator. Everything else is just plumbing to connect the two. So this one piece is doing the job of both of these. This just does it a whole lot better, flows more, and filters a lot more. So I'm going to grab tools and we're gonna get this thing all apart.
Do you ever get that feeling that just something is watching over your shoulder? all the time?
Well, when you're online, someone is always looking over your shoulder, but today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, they've got your back. That's right, today's sponsor is Surfshark VPN. Now, if you don't know what a VPN is, it's like a swimsuit. It keeps your private bits private and lets you go out into public, well covered. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. They are a shield guarding you against everyone that would want to monitor everything you're doing. And with Surfshark, it's not just a VPN. You get safe search, an ad-free search experience. You also get alerts monitoring for any data breaches with your information in it. There are certain popular automotive subscription services that you can't get around the world. But by using Surfshark, you're able to broadcast that you're from the country where you're able to watch and subscribe to those services and enjoy all of that content that's geo-locked from you. You also get the benefit of incognito. You need a whole new identity with less spam emails coming to you. Surfshark has you covered. It's not just a VPN, it's an all-in-one wonder. You get safe search, incognito, data breach alerts, antivirus, anything and everything you need you can get from one place. Now, if you're ready to give Surfshark a try and lock down and protect your online life, head on over to surfshark.com/questionable and you're gonna get 4 months extra free. It also comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If for whatever reason it is not meeting your needs and you're unhappy, you get your money back. But you're not gonna need it. You're gonna unlock a world of content, secure your privacy online, and have someone watching your back whenever you go online. Again, surfshark.com/questionable. Link's gonna be in the description and comment box below. Keep your browsing private. Now back to the video.
Don't let your dreams die.
Okay, so now that we have that out, we're gonna need to go from our feed line to the filter first before we go to the regulator. Brackets can be a pain in the butt for these filters sometimes, but thankfully, Holly has these really nice billet mounts. I used these on the New Yorker back in the day. You can slide however you want. It is one way because they have check valves to hold pressure, so you don't have super long cranks. So rather than having, I like to show my parts, but we're gonna have it backwards so it's not upside down. So we'll slide these in position, get them on, and then we need to figure out, exactly where this is gonna land. Then we'll drill, put some rib nuts in. So I'll bring the whole case over. I've got some of the new clean cut drill bits, local Georgia company, US made, that I am absolutely loving them. I've seen friend Jacob Davis, Sally Speed Shop, had him on his truck for a while, and I've been seeing him at car shows, and I'm really enjoying them. Anyone who's done any level of fab over time, you know how much better life is with a good drill bit. One downside, Johnny, is he's just so far in there. Such a pain at times, but it's worth it. So this is how they come. Nice little lid that locks them in. These are just their standard. They also have the new stepped point, which are great for opening a hole, because when you use this style a bit, they wander a whole lot. Riv nut, if you're not familiar, it's a little insert like a rivet that you install like one, and it gives you threads wherever you put that in. We used a whole lot of these on the Pro drift car, for the body panels and stuff. And then squeeze. That was kind of an ugly one. My fault. And we can get this set in, and then mark our other 3 holes. I can math. Come on. That was something. All right, now we'll do our little kiss with the other 4. I'm gonna say in the future, I definitely need to try building maybe slightly less extreme silly to work on cars, Okay, all started. All in the interest of just trying to do something right, you know? I get it. Sometimes you just want the quick and dirty. Quick and dirty works. I've done it plenty. But we're reaching a really good spot with this truck where some good suspension and it done. Alrighty, let's get these punched in. All right, so while you guys are overheating there, I got our last bolts in. I had to use just standard boring heads on the bottom. And then on the top, for one of them, I had to cut the shoulder down. See, the shoulder's cut. Probably should have done it there too to make it even, but I don't know. Also, just in kind of timing of filming, we did lose Rob Pitts from now 2 days ago. The absolute love and support that you guys have shown, everything you're doing to kind of follow, see some of his videos, that means a lot to the family. It means a lot to us as his friends. If you're not, head over to Rob Pitt's YouTube channel. Something I thought was kind of cool is he sat down and kind of filmed a last round of stories to be released a little bit. Jeff's taking care of helping carry that legacy on, so. All right, let's get fuel fittings on that. All right, so we got our proper clips. Okay, so we will do this. I could like recut this, reflare it, and do straight, but I'm okay with having this gentle loop in it. So we're gonna cut it right there. Don't forget your clamp. So then this slides up, and with your special tool, you will pinch that on. And this is what's called basically constant tension style. You pinch it, and it can kind of flex and grow a little bit with that hose. All right, so now I got fuel coming in to this. All right, next up, regulator. And if you notice, this one has two that are marked in and out and return. So if we had a fuel rail setup where fuel comes in, goes around, comes out, then goes to the regulator, we would go block off one of these inputs. The filter would connect to the rail would connect to one input and output, and then the return goes down. But because we're essentially returnless, the filter is gonna go in and out. The other side in and out is gonna go to the rail, and then it'll go down to the return. And what that's doing is everything on top of the return will see the same pressure. So that's how you can use one of these regulators on a return style, where you have fuel coming in, going to the rail, and then returning. So they're really versatile. We will only use two of these holes. We don't need all of them. We'll get it kind of right around there, I think. Get it mounted up, and then I'm gonna have to triple check the spring, see if we do need to change that or not. Oh, I'm really annoyed at myself. I guess I could waller out a hole and make that a little more level. Idiot. Jace. All right, so as I'm getting the rest of this all plumbed up here, admiring my absolutely amazing job here on getting this level. If you're plumbing a fuel system, line size is quite important, and it's gotten wrong a lot. A lot of times people will just instantly throw the biggest line on that they can afford. The bigger your sizing, exponentially more expensive the fittings, right? This does not need a dash 10. So when you hear AN size, dash 10, it's all in 1/16 of an inch. So 5/16 is dash 5, dash 6 is 3/8, etc. A lot of times people just will instantly think, okay, the biggest is best. And if you have the budget and you're not worried about the weight of all the extra fittings, absolutely throw the biggest stuff on you can. But sometimes when you're racing, you're worried about the weight of everything. When you're worried about the weight of things, you want to go just enough. So, kind of rule one of your fuel system, as big as you can afford, is a great rule of thumb. As much as you can afford for the parts, and as much as you can afford for the weight. You can also find a tremendous number of really good calculators online that kind of help you determine fuel system size and kind of help you figure out everything. I swear, the internet has made going fast a lot easier in the sense that there's so much information we didn't get to have back in the day. Coming out and looping in. I think it might, well. Oh, it's so close. All right, 90 down. All right, so I need to find one more 90 in my supplies. All right, let's get her fired up and start checking for fuel pressure. We're gonna do a couple key cycles to make it prime. You can hear that regulator kind of start making its noise. Means we got at least fuel up to there. Looks like 51. Looks like I got pretty close. 54, that's pretty close. Man, if I went that half a turn, we would have probably been perfect right off the rip. Now, I will say, when you're able to use these, yes, this is a much cleaner, simpler option, but it doesn't work all the time. We did not have enough fuel, and this couldn't control pressure correctly. The pumps were overwhelming it, it's getting stuck in bypass, and not getting fuel to the engine. So while that is way more complicated, and I made the biggest rookie error ever, and that is mounting components before thinking about running my lines. Proper way to do it is think about everything as a system. Putting your lines in, how they need to run. I would have had that regulator a little bit further to the driver's side, so we could have done those 45s. I'm still pleased, it's clean, it's all in there. And we're ready to go ripping down the road. But before we do that, we've got one more fuel system to fix. So charge cameras, reset angles, and let's get talking about roadblocks, gas problems. Every time I say gas problems, I envision Dwayne just editing, little fart sounds for you guys to pick up. Maybe he's just doing it throughout the whole video, or maybe he's more mature than I am, and there's not been one single fart joke the whole episode. All right, it is Roadblock's turn now to get his fuel system fixed, but to describe the issue we were having and how we arrived at the conclusion of what we needed to do to fix it. Initially, Palmer did the stage 2 upgrades for us. We got a new pulley, ready for more boost out of the supercharger, and it went for tuning, and it wasn't happy. We put bigger injectors in it because we were running out of duty cycle, and finally went to Barth tuning. And as we were working through some more issues on the dyno, we discovered we had a bad fuel pump suddenly. Now, this is something that was bench tested before and never had an issue until it was removed from the car. Well, this being a Hellcat, kind of the coveted upgrade in the automotive world is the Hellcat fuel pump. From the factory, it is one of the most extreme and reliable fuel pumps you can get. Holley has the 12963 525 liter per hour pump. This is the Hellcat pump. One thing I like is it comes with a few extra parts you don't normally get, better connectors so you can wire them up cleaner rather than soldering in your tank, and their fuel pickups are generally a lot better. You'll no sooner blow up, in this case, a $20,000 engine by trying to save $100. I get it, times are tough. Things get really expensive really fast, but $100 is cheaper than $20,000. So let's cue going outside and me laying on my stomach, digging into the normally readily accessible fuel pumps. All right, so we are getting to the fuel pumps here in Roadblock. You know, nice and convenient and easy. And yes, that is gasoline. Ever since that pump was removed and the pumps were checked on that initial dyno tune, we've had a fuel leak problem. Also, you'll notice we had to unplug one of our 2 modules at Barth because there's something funky going on in one of those pumps now, which it wasn't before. So we're gonna get that tool, the fuel tank ring tool, get this thing lifted up and see if we can figure out what on earth has gone wrong with that, so we can get back to not having gas problems. Alrighty, so my real nice tool went missing, so I swung by a closer dealer that I work sometimes with. Okay, so that will be locked in. Got my icon. Man, there's a heck of a snap-on icon fight going on right now. It's kind of funny. I think no matter what, the winner is Harbor Freight. That the fact that Snap-on's so worried they made a bunch of demos specifically about their wrenches. Wonder if we're leaking because it wasn't locked in all the way, because that was a little too easy to actually take apart. Oh boy, now the real fun. Well, that's not supposed to do that quite like that. Okay. It appears my secondary locks are missing on these, which they most certainly had when I brought it in. Whew, it is hot outside, guys. There's not a lot to see either. It's just fidget and hold your tongue just right. You gotta be careful with these, because again, if it breaks, the only way to get it is ordering the entire jet pump assembly from the other side. Come on. Good news is there's only, like 2 of these. Alright. The other thing I gotta do is figure out which, that's warm. Which one of these 2 that one is. Multimeter is how we're gonna do that one. I think my favorite part is the fact that there's supposed to be secondary clips on all these parts, and the shop just decided we didn't need to put them back on. I get it if it's your opinion it's not necessary, but they were installed for a reason. My car had them on when it went to your shop, so it should still have them on. It's not your place to decide what my car keeps and doesn't keep. Alright, let me figure out which pump was the dying one. Started to lift this thing up, and I just wanted to cover more of this. One,
the pickup socks weren't even attached to the pumps anymore, and those springs are supposed to be locked in, and that explains some of the problems we were having with the upper hat not sitting correctly. Never mind, this was zip tied rather than just clip back in place. And I'm down to just 2 of the 4 clips. Frustration aside, I'm gonna take a couple look at this, figure out our best way of heating and removing these preformed hoses. I may have to quickly order some more, so we can then look at getting our Holley Hellcat pumps back inside here, and then we can correctly assemble it like the way it should have been when shop was paid to do it. Man, we got ourselves a little mess here that we're gonna get sorted out and fixed, and we're gonna end up with something really good when it's all said and done with. But it's gonna go into that kind of custom 90s modifying a factory hat to get really good pumps in there, which I'm okay with. We're gonna have to change out some connector ends and everything. The Holley pumps come with the correct hose. Well, there we go, the nice flexible heat shrink and clamp hose, so we'll be able to use the factory return or feed. Also, these have built-in check valves. Absolutely crucial when you're running a dual pump setup, because sometimes you're staging them where one pump's not on when the other one is. In this case, they both run together in unison, so it won't be a problem. One thing we're losing is these had internal check valves, and those would just bypass and spray back into the basket between those 2 small hoses. We don't have that. The check valve, it's gonna rely on the jet pump side that we don't have removed from the car. The broken clips there, while annoying, they're not gonna totally end us. Got to figure out fitting this in there. When the pumps feed up, they are at the right height down here, but we can't reuse the factory pickup because this bell is not the same size as that bell. But that's okay, because Holley includes their Hydromat style pickup, which is even better. It just, we don't have that physical lock. So this is where my Japanese tuner game is gonna come in strong. We've done it a whole lot. I've got to get some stainless steel hose clamps, because what we'll end up doing is we'll cut some slots in here that will then pinch and hold these pumps in. And once we do that, we get our hoses set on the top, we reinstall that, and don't lose these clips because they're impossible to replace. Wire it up, and we're not gonna have gas problems anymore. And even though it's wrong, you know, we're doing it the right way. Like we said in some of the satellite episodes, it's okay to do the wrong thing if you do it the right way. Some people say it's only by the book. Well, we're modifying stuff. We're making it better. We're improving. We're customizing. And there isn't a book for it. So you need to know how to judge the level of questionableness of what you're doing. And this is something I've done in the past, had to do before. As long as you do it right, it being wrong doesn't matter. I remember a great lesson back when I was at Toyota training was anytime you look at a wiring diagram, it's really easy to kind of get lost in all of it. Best advice is, rather than looking at the entire bowl of spaghetti, look at just the noodles that matter. So when you're working on a specific circuit, just worry about the wires that directly are, you know, pertaining to it. Suddenly, instead of an entire bowl of spaghetti, you have 6 noodles. And that's a lot easier to kind of get your mind around and deal with. Okay, back to the car. Let's try to get pumps in before the end of the day. All right, so wanted to change our O-ring here, and apparently they're back ordered. There's 12,000 on their way to Dodge. They don't have any, but that's in stock at O'Reilly Auto Part. Exact same measurements and everything. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, it doesn't say it's right, but it's right. So the second ring that they decided to delete is the safety ring that keeps this from expanding and pushing off. It's technically not the end of the world, but you know, I had it. Which I mean, I get it's not fun, but you know, if you're like charging to do a job, kind of expect it to be done right, you know? Okay, fuel sending unit needs to go in, and then it slides up. Nope. Okay. Come on. Why do cars do that? You know, like when it's really easy to access it, it behaves perfect. It's like, gives you hope that when you're laying in the bed of your ute with your arms uncomfortably stretched forward into fuel pump access holes, it would behave and cooperate and do nice things. Although I imagine not many people are laying in the bed of a Dodge Charger UTE trying to get a fuel pump sending unit to fuel level sending unit. Let's say it right. Snap in. Funny thing, as soon as I got it low enough, it went right in. So we're gonna hit it with some Thunderbolt. It's a rust penetrant. It's also kind of tacky and lubey like. My well-worth buddy sent this to me. And then hopefully we can fire it up with both pumps plugged in. That'd be kind of crazy. Oh, there it went. There we go.
Yeah, so if you remember earlier in the episode when I said spoiler about pre-filters, if you don't have your pre-filters and you introduce debris into your fuel tank, you're gonna lock up a fuel pump. But it's now fixed, so I guess all's fair when it ends well. So we've got 2 working fuel pumps that flow more than the original Red Eye pumps. It might be time to talk to Barth about some E85 down the road. Who knows? But I do know I have 2 vehicles with some good fuel systems, and I say we go for a quick rip in both of them, and then we can close out this episode.
See if he behaves. We might need to get gas first, Wayne. Asking, why are we driving the Hellcat right now, the UTE? We know it works. It was working before. We just now have both fuel pumps. And if you're asking that question, I want to ask you, are you feeling okay? Do we really need a reason to take an 800 horsepower Dodge Charger UTE with a manual transmission for a fun rip? I don't see it. Well, I say a fun rip. We got lots of traffic. Johnny's a lot louder now. The exhaust hasn't changed at all. Car Wizard was here visiting and drove them. He had the same observation. We're cruising, fuel pressure, rock solid. I've also seen 1 or 2 comments where you guys are like, Jared, why don't you ever like rip it through all the gears? I geared roadblock specifically for really good roadkill nights and really good burnouts. when we hit the chip in first gear, the red limit in first gear, we are going 58 miles an hour. Then second is about 83, and then about 107 at the top of third. So when we're on the street, we can't. If we're being just perfectly, I will rip a car and we'll you know, occasionally break a speed limit here and there. But not to those levels. That's just unsafe and dangerous. Biggest benefit of the roadblock repair, being able to put a full tank of gas in and not have it leak out. Pretty nice. Novel concept, really. Be always fun first gear. We gotta slow down. The one downside to having so much power on the street if you're trying to be
Well, there we have it. They're out running and driving great, causing all kinds of loud mayhem on the street, and it feels good. I guess we can put the fuel systems to rest because they have beds. A bed and a bed. We're putting our fuel system problems to rest, and that is absolutely a terrible joke. I appreciate you guys chortling along. I think I need to move that air compressor outside. So that's gonna do it for today's episode. We had to knock out a little bit of maintenance, and hopefully you learned a little bit about fuel systems. Comment below any questions you've got. I'll do my best. I always try to answer and do what I can. If not, we have a lot of knowledgeable viewers, and I love how much you guys kind of go back and forth and help each other out also in the comments. Appreciate every single one of you. It lets me build cars that have no practical reason to exist, but they absolutely should. Also, we're gonna wrap this one up just a little bit differently. Again, if you haven't, head over to VinWiki, listen to some of Rob Pitt's stories. He was an absolute legend of a person and a good friend. Also on screen will be, instead of our normal outro, title card to send you over to Rob's channel. Subscribe to it. Him and his team, they recorded kind of a couple extra stories and pearls of wisdom that I believe they're going to release a little bit over time in his memory. Show support to the family. He was a pillar of kind of the automotive community that I'm tucked into. So Jared, reminding you guys to always make questionable choices and live a life that will give you some fun stories to tell. We'll see you.